Welcome back, everyone, to Amsterdam. It is a day that is putting the wind in Windmill here. It's been crazy weather, heavy storms, thunder and lightning this morning mean that the tournament didn't get started till 10:30 today, and they've split the first 2 rounds of Swiss Draw into 4 mini rounds. So the great shame is that unfortunately Grut versus Jinx Midnight is only going to be 45 minutes long rather than a full 75. But what a 45 it promises to be, with Grut, the current #1 seed with Swiss Draw coefficient, taking on Jinx Midnight, fresh off their Elite Invite victory. And Lev Kovalchuk is suiting up for this one because this is also, I believe, a EUCS game, with both of these sides opting to use this for EUCS results this weekend. Benji Rees alongside Lorcan Murray. The Germans beginning on offense. Gerner crouching, opening things up, raking break across the field to Scala, but Scala can't catch. Not on that occasion anyway. Reset to Leshnik. Off the hands and quickly picked up. Neither of these sides will be able to play their cleanest ultimate in these conditions. That's been abundantly clear from the games we've seen so far, but it's something you just have to adapt and work with. The floater does come down in Jinx possession, but I don't think anyone touched that in the intermediary, and that is going to be a turnover.
So things a little bit shaky to start, Benj?
Just a tad. Here's a deep shot going and dropping right in the bucket. Marchikulan watched it all the way into the hands, and Grut proving why they are such a handful on home turf. That's a 1-0 lead with an opening break.
So Grut defending their home territory. Obviously, when they went for the gender divide between the open and the women's teams, there were a lot of questions. You're coming into Windmill, you're going from the biggest division to ones where teams are a lot more adept at playing in it. And both sides, Grut Open and Grut Women, look set to make the top 8. But is the Grut Women sitting at the very pinnacle of their division, and right now going up against a team who I think a lot of people would consider one of, if not the best this season looking so far?
I think that's fair.
So what will be interesting to see is how Grut can adapt their game, how they can use the depths of their roster, the players who aren't as accustomed to getting so much field time, against teams who are much more attuned to this level of competition.
It's an early stumbling block for Jinx, but as long as Grut don't compound the misery, they should be alright. But with these shorter games, you cannot afford to let yourself get to a big deficit, because it's Swiss Draw, so who to goes, you finish the point, and that's your lot, right? So you don't actually have, it's not like normal Ultimate where you have to score that last point to win and your opponent has to get over the line. This time there's no such barriers, so if you can get into a big deficit, your opponent can, in a way, almost just grind clock down. Not that you want to, because you always want to score as much as you can to improve that Swiss Draw coefficient. Although, with the top 8 cut after this, after round 5 of Swiss, at the moment Grut have such a big advantage that there's no way they are not making that top 8, and looking highly likely to be the top seed as well, as the long shot for Lonnie Jasper hits the synthetic turf. Floated across the field. Bone watches it all the way in. Pumping the backhand. High release. Leshnik can't bring it in. The standout Slovenian. Picked up by Ortiz. She finds an option in the backfield. Müller looking across the field, but despite the layout, it's another turnover. Both sides clearly struggling with the conditions, as the majority of sides have out here, in all honesty. Leshnik tries to power away up line. Vila Janssen swings, and it was fluttery, but it was caught. Still rising, just choosing to put some air underneath it, see if she can give someone a shot. A shot that is well answered. Janssen. Pass zipped from Leshnik to Bone. Bone That one had so much speed. Normally you might see an offhand backhand there potentially, but instead it raced away. And now Lewandowska picks up, trying a big outside in flick towards the end zone. A couple of defenders there, and expertly plucked by Lesznik. But there might be a call on this one.
Little bit of contact. There's going to be a lot of contact. I mean, sirens will be blaring in these kind of conditions. The amount of hospital passes we're going to have to see our way through. When they hang that much, bodies. And what a fantastic grab. There's going to be contact. What I'm interested in is Grut, just so the people at home know, if you catch a glimpse of our flags, the wind is coming very strongly from right to left down the pitch. So hucks that way, you're going to want to hang them because they'll drop with the wind pushing them down. But then you saw Grut were unable to get that initial cut off of. They were just making one-step moves, as in running in one direction. Oh, it's going to be retracted. So Jinx right on the end zone.
Into the end zone and scoring with the very subsequent pass.
So a little bit of
Holland with the score.
A bit of a curious call there. It looked like, to me, not only a clean but sensational grab. However, clearly, uncontested, foul in the end zone, so you get to take it from the front of the end zone. And then Jinx able to pop it in with the single pass.
So I think, however it looks to us, what we think isn't wholly important, the players on the field coming to a resolution they agree with. And there's one thing how it looks, and how it feels is another thing entirely. Get a look at it again. Maybe actually I do see that Lesznik is maybe kind of pushing down across the top of the back of Ortiz. It was difficult because there's a crowd of bodies kind of in the intermediary for us. We didn't get the best shot of it. But off the check-in, the Spaniard Ortiz scores on the very next, or throws the assist, I should say, with the very first pass afterwards. In terms of the Swiss draw ranking, we mentioned Grut, number 1, 11.1, their current Swiss draw coefficient. Great Britain are second, 7.7. Jinx Midnight in third with a Swiss draw coefficient a shade under 6. And then you've got Jet Set, Love, 3SB, East Block, Box, and Flying Angels Burn. Fabulous. Currently sitting in that 8th spot and trying to prevent probably Moon Cup. Realistically the only side that could seize that final top 8 spot. Grut looking long, and that is money in the bank. How many times have we seen those combinations down the years at Windmill? Banged deep, and is there anyone better at that on the receiving end than Floor Coulards?
It's hard to have a debate about it. Pretty emphatically yes. Certainly for female matching players in the mixed division for years, it was Floor Coulards who struck fear into the hearts of so many people. We've seen her make sensational play after sensational play for almost a decade here on this field alone. As we have another look, you know she wants to go deep, you know her team wants to send it to her, and with that giant wind, Grut are going to huck every opportunity they get coming in this direction. And you were talking about how they're ranked at the top right now. They got here by their first 3 games running through European competition, who they expect to see later on in the season. So they beat Seagulls 15-6, then Box 15-7, and East Block 15-6. So just taking care of business against teams who you're expecting to see them in the quarterfinals, maybe even the semifinals of EUC. I know we've spoken highly of East Block and what they're hoping to take a step up. Of course, their Czech teammates 3SB sitting right in there.
Yeah, we mentioned as well the women's rankings. You saw it there on the screen, so rather than trying to write it down furiously while I'm giving it a go, you can see it fully in front of you there. And by the way, the easiest way to keep it on top of everything is by downloading the Windmill Tournament app, which
it's a fantastic app.
It is, I must say, a very good app. As much as I don't like installing new apps, because I like everything being in the same place it usually is, and it just throws things off kilter for me.
You don't like change, Benji.
Very true. You can say what you want about various neurodivergences there, but I think it's quite on brand for me.
Oh, I just meant it's because you always pay in card.
Oh, right. Yeah, cash is unhygienic. It's one of the things we found out during the pandemic, isn't it?
Dirty money, baby.
Centering pass to Herkens. Herkens, well, she wants to shoot as well. That blade is just going to keep on going and going and gone.
I really like that. But now Jinx have got a tough decision to make. You know Grut are going to be fine with hucking it. They're going to trust their receivers to get underneath a floaty disc. So do you try and push them deep and let them get that quick advantage on you? Do you force them under and then watch them grind it out? You've got to take away something. There's the floaty pass, looking for the space, but really great position by Jinx.
It's part of the reason why you don't mind putting the deep shots up, because you can play the field position game a little bit with the current conditions. Marlene Müller has the pass from Lewandowska. Doesn't find von Stebut. High floater.
But you can see again, taking away the under with the movement, and then once it goes up, you've just got an easier job to react.
This time, Lewandowska does find von Stebut. High grab stuck by Haaland. Schrempf. Looking like there's a bit more comfort now in the way Jinx are operating. But as soon as I say that, Lewandowska's swing does not connect.
And that's exactly what you don't want. That's why you play, I think you said manage field position, or huck and D in layman's terms.
Huck and D.
Good old bit of huck and D, because you don't want to go for a swing halfway up the pitch and just give Grut this opportunity. One leading pass.
Well, that's what they're going for, but you can see the wind just buffets it back, flutters it and tips it.
And that's one buffet that leads to a broken offense.
Von Stebut wants to get it off the line, trying to lead the throw to space, and drops it perfectly in between Schrempf and Lewandowska. And Grut hucking immediately the other way. It's attritional ultimate out there, Lorcan.
Did that take a hit?
I don't think it did.
Gosh.
And that is a fatal mistake, surely. The turnover right on the end zone line, and Grut can't quite take advantage. Kulen's throw passed a little bit too much that time of Suzanne Slob.
I think Suzanne Slob has been really impressive this season as well, announcing herself as a threat across the women's division. Surprised couldn't connect with Klertz, and at this point I think you've got to just boost it. Yeah. Send it deep. You can't be having these turnovers in your own end zone.
Yeah, you can see Sarah Melvin there on the sideline, playing with Jinx this season but not playing in this game, as that's an almighty collision.
So this will be interesting.
Jinx, as you mentioned, they probably should. Chose to go for the deep option, and players tracking underneath it, and just kind of maybe a lack of awareness. Some across there, and oof.
I mean, I don't put a huge amount of blame on Horhold there. She's making, or not Horhold, sorry. She's making a very reasonable cut across. Oh yeah, Horhold it was. And then gets jumped into. And that's why you huck and D.
Because you can get the turnover, and you've got a much better field position. Much rather be starting in opposition territory than on your own end zone line. Into the centre, and that one never really got going.
I think it's the amount of fear they have when they see those Grut defenders.
Leshnik opening up the arm, giving it a go, and Franka Tenkata tried her very best. But it's just going to be tipped and straight back to Grut.
It's going backwards and forwards, this way, that way.
It's a real struggle out there. As an offense, certainly. Defensively, you don't mind, because it's almost like you've got a 9th, 10th player. Floated. And Marlene Müller says, let's slap this away. Walk to the front of the end zone and see if we can get a huck set up. Not quite immediately, with the second handle defender flashing into that space.
That separation on Lewandowska.
Yeah, eventually the deep shot goes, and superbly stuck by von Stebut. Accepted foul by Elise Boss running through. So now with von Stebut. And she finds Müller. Müller taking on the aggressive break, and that one goes right into row Z, the proverbial. That's row Z for our friends across the pond.
So something about playing in these conditions, and look, with all your normal throws, they're getting pushed into the ground. When they're getting thrown out of the sidelines, you go a little bit unorthodox. Genuinely going downwind, scoobers and high releases, if you can snap them, become really useful throws. A scuba becomes very predictable. It goes up and then just comes down so quickly in these conditions that it starts becoming a little bit easier than trying to hit people with backhands and hoping they won't just drop into the floor underneath them.
Yeah, wind's just shy of 30 miles an hour, and you might be able to see in the background those rugby posts. They are flailing somewhat in the wind, looking like the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube bend, which is not great for a big metal structure like that.
It's a little concerning, I would say.
But hopefully that gives you some idea of what the players are dealing with, as if the flags and the trees and the shirts rippling in the wind weren't enough. Got to get so much revolution on all these throws. Make sure you can slice through the wind. That one blades early, and Miller watches it hit the floor.
Grut were doing such a good job of playing the unders, of creating what is effectively a series of up-the-line cuts. You have to disguise them after a while, but then they go for the leading pass and turnover.
Lewandowska wants a reset, not there. Can't squeeze it down the line, and that's actually going to come in right back on the end zone line as well. Gerner, despite the layout, came up empty, and Gerner's going to have... I thought she was going to take an injury. I thought she was indicating she wanted an injury sub, but no, just stretching off. Popped up into the air, and Lewandowska picks it off. Now the deep shot. This looks like a thing of beauty, but it just kept going. Needed a little more finesse on the end.
It just didn't curve the right way back in. Just drifting straight the entire way. I honestly, if Grut can get this up the wind, it's a 45-minute game. It could be the whole match right there if you get that one score. And they've had 2 to 3 chances basically on the Jinx end zone line.
I mean, the reality is that both of these sides will be in the top 8. They will be in the bracket. But, of course, you want to finish as high as possible to give yourself your best path through that bracket. Lesznik breaks down the far side. I know it's popped up and gobbled up by Jinx. Lewandowska has it right through her hands. Dan to Lesznik, who lays out just to make sure. And now popping and floating this one, and the wind is not going to give that one a shot. Like the Jinx defenders didn't want to leave things up to chance there. Lewandowska from just inside Foot's half to Gerner. Trying to find an option, breaking around Müller. Little leader into the centre, too far for Gerner, and Lesznik picks off, and Lesznik very wisely and astutely takes the time out, because we've had 20 minutes and this is still the 4th point. It is so treacherous out there, Lorcan.
If you think about Grut and the point they scored beforehand going downwind, was it one pass?
Something like that, yes. Yeah, it was.
You compare it to this one, they're gumming up Jinx very, very effectively, so a very understandable time to call a timeout. Just get your breath back and really, look, put in a huge shift, because when they work those unders, we saw them get halfway up the pitch, no leading passes, straight into chests. You earn the yards by just running as hard as you can and disguising up the lines. We'll see if they can do it when they come back out of this timeout. It's 2-1 to Grut.
On the grand stage to keep possession. Huge bid, gets the
It's a great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! One of the plays of the year.
Final rounds of women's Swiss draw action here at Windmill 2024. Grut with a 2-1 lead on Jinx Midnight. Lorcan, you've been having a look at the previous results for these two sides.
Indeed I have, Benji. So we went through Grut a little bit, undefeated so far. Jinx as well, and they've also knocked out a different group of higher level European women's teams in Fab 14-12, 3SB 12-9, and Gravity 15-7. Some of those teams taking this tournament to a different level of seriousness or a different level of competition, bringing a lot of beginners, and then beating East Block 15-10. So both teams have wins over East Block and really establishing themselves. You've got to say, this part of the season, these are the two best women's teams in European Ultimate.
Certainly this weekend, we take out the Great Britain national side, which obviously they're not playing the club series because that's not how it works. Yes, this is a good early marker here for Grut, following up their spring tour victory in the base of the French Alps in Grenoble. Actually, no, I said that they came the runner-up at that event to BFD Shout, now that I think about it. Actually, no, I commentated that game. Marlene Müller. Past the bidding Leshnik into Haaland. And now Von Stebert catching it under pressure. Resets herself in bounds. Müller up line. Broken to Gerner. Gerner looking at the end zone. Taking the dish back to Von Stebert. This is much more like the Jinx offense. The timeout actually from Grut seems to have just allowed their opponents to steady themselves. Gerner. Good bracket at the front there to prevent the pass going to Lewandowska. They find a second option coming forward. Lonnie Jasper. Jasper back to Gerner. Doesn't want the force to Von Stebert. Maybe Jasper instead. No. Smart poach. But Gerner finds the hole. And Gerner finds Lena Von Stebert. And Jinx finally get back on the board. It's 2 apiece.
That was a downwind point for Jinx that took the better part of 20 minutes. Could have watched an episode of The Simpsons. Or you could have enjoyed that top quality wind ultimate as they battled and tried to find their right way through. They did resort to some huck and D at one point, but stepped away for it coming out of that final turnover and just trying to use quick handler movement. Something you see a lot of in this situation is because teams in the shorter field, they think they can only go one direction, and that's under. They don't bother throwing in fakes as much. They try to use their fakes to go under and then continue going under in a different direction or stutter step, and that's quite easy to cover. You gotta commit wholeheartedly to an undercut, plant and then fake and then go up the line or go into the open space so you can just get it thrown directly into your chest. They will bid on every undercut that you do with serious intent, and they will happily just stay home on when you're jumping backwards and forwards because they don't have that much ground to cover. All of the work has to be done through hard physical effort and beating your one-to-one matchup in the defense, because the throws going upwind are just going to be too hard to handle. And we will see how Jinx handle Grut, who you expect are going to look for a deep shot immediately.
Gerner with a little bit of football practice, maybe taking inspiration from Germany's start to the Euros yesterday. Hopefully we're not going to see any old-fashioned reducing tackles from Grut. Floated, lofty over the top. Oda Honlong steps in. Here's the deep shot. I'm not sure that's quite going to reach. And it does flutter just short in the end. The swing a little bit higher but caught. It's looking a little bit static at the moment for Grut. Find Kulartz in space on the far sideline. Kulartz and Volchak, that's a fun matchup. The hammer found the target of Hay, but low to the ground. Hay couldn't quite seal it. Gerner looking for Volchak. And Levke Volchak can't catch it either. Seems like the drops are contagious.
Great work by Kulartz on the force to not let that inside break off either. Really shut down Jinx and forced that turnover.
Looking good in those super team shorts. Had a big rout. They had a big win this morning, 7-6 over France. In a potential preview of the mixed division final. Who knows? The ever reliable Minard tosses a backhand low, and Loos de Groen thinks that she had that, but it's being called down.
For my money, Minard's the best dump cutter in Europe on a technical level, just the intelligence she brings to that position and her movement.
One of the few players who played in all 3 divisions last year. Obviously mixed with Grut, women's with the Netherlands, and open with the Dutch under-24s.
I gotta say, I don't think De Groen had control of that the whole way through. She very clearly lost control, but did she have control through the contact with the ground, and as rolling lost control while it was off the ground and regained it? I don't particularly think so.
They're going to contest it and send it back.
Seems very fair. That's the thing about the contest that we quite enjoy a lot of the times. It's the best resolution.
Are we sure? No. Okay.
So Glasgow rules it, do it again.
Unfortunately, Minard thinks better of it. And now Lienanger. Minard being marked by Scarlett, the Austrian. Tosses back. And Janne Jansen continues towards the far sideline. Iris Lienanger again. Minard. Didn't quite have it set to go to Janne Jansen, and how on earth has Volchak picked that? Unfortunately, Lieninger's got a poke in the eye, potentially.
Potential mugging we just recorded live on screen. Of course, there was no ill intent. And I just keep thinking back to Volchak getting the disc in a power position on the sideline, looking to the end zone. That's one of the best throwers in the world. And even she couldn't get it up through this wind. As we have another look at the interception. I hit her in the face with the disc.
Yeah, the block looks clean enough to me, but obviously
well.
hope that Iris Lienenger's going to be okay.
The problem is, where that hit her, it might have just got her on the bridge of the nose.
Yeah.
And if you just get stingers there. The next thing you know, you're like, your eyes water up, and you're definitely not crying in front of your PE class. It was your eyes watering up because you got hit in the nose.
I don't know what you're on about.
Me either.
Yeah.
That's a bonk.
That's going to leave a mark, I think they say.
You want to talk about leaving a mark in this game. If Jinx can get together an upwind score, we're at 15 minutes now. So at this point, it's been going on for about 5 minutes, 6 minutes so far.
Yeah.
And Jinx have looked more comfortable going upwind.
At least the sun's out now, because as you can see there, decent crowd in attendance. This is the one thing with having those split round games, is that actually, there's more people to come and watch and enjoy. Volchak chancing her arm. Is it going to come down to Von Stebbert tipped it? Gerner I made an effort to see if there was a recovery grab there. Aurora Leshnik, who's come on now. Lays it back to Minard. Tosses the disc towards the break side. De Groen, who I was really impressed with, I must say, in Grenoble. Need to roll the backhand into space. Oh, Kalat's tipped and collects at the second attempt. And Grut, again, just able to edge themselves in front. 3-2 they lead.
See why you were impressed with De Groen. That's a fantastic backhand that is perfectly weighted and shaped to absorb the wind. So you can see it's high, so it'll drop. It's curved slightly, so it'll come into the path of Fleur Coulert. That's a really difficult throw. And in these kind of conditions, a big part of it is just putting it in the mixer and giving your teammates a chance to catch it.
Especially when you've got teammates like Fleur Coulert.
They don't need that much of a chance. And as you were saying, De Groen, who got 2 assists and 9 goals at the Grenoble Spring Tour. Very impressive. But that's exactly what we need to see from Grut, right? When we heard they were splitting their teams, it's like, cool, you have 7 great players of both genders, sure. Do you have 7 more in either? And what they've started to do, and especially given from where the club started, and being very focused on keeping it a select group and growing together as that select group, opening up the club and running these trainings and trying to elevate people through the ranks, certainly seems to be working quite well for them. And you got to imagine working quite well for the future of the Netherlands Ultimate Program in general.
You'd imagine so. It's a real shame that we're not seeing any Dutch teams out in the Gold Coast in September. The ball rolls and spins back towards split zone, red zone.
It's effectively a brick mark. I did see a high release flick not quite work out, but I would like to say that I think those are the correct moves. High release backhand, over the top, big bid, but nothing happening. So now Grut with an opportunity to go into the wind. Can they get that quick fire action rolling? That was a difficult pass.
Difficult pass, well stuck though. Raider into the centre. Boss watches it into the hands and then low but scooped. Down the middle. There's going to invite all sorts of pressure. And Ville Janssen got two hands to it, and having done so, probably a little bit disappointed that the catch didn't quite stick in there. Holland on the underneath, then continues to Marta Ortiz. Nice gainer there to Marina Müller. Müller to Gavic. Gavic, I think maybe wanted the option down the line and said no. Whips the inside break and Ortiz collects after a little bit of consternation. And then looking to go back. Some float on that one to Gavic. Gavic wants something, anything, not seeing it, and so tries to manufacture something herself.
Rose Herkins made 50% of the perfect cut there. From the stack, straight into the dump position, then bounce and go up the line. Score.
As it is. Grut get a second shot. 10 Carter. To Scholten. And Scholten has it escape her clutches. And now looking deep. And slightly too deep there for the visored Rosa Herkins.
Quite a lethal mover, though, in this short space. So just a bit more commitment and keeps playing like this. I wouldn't be surprised to see her score some crucial goals. But it's about, can you make it as easy as possible for your throwers going upwind?
Stoppage on the field. Collision away from the disc. I think this is Selina Scholten. Going to have to take an injury sub. Didn't quite see precisely what happened. She's able to come off the field under her own power, which is good. Always a good sign.
We're always very happy when we can see people walking off to look after themselves. It's a long old tournament, even with these 45-minute games.
Yeah, Marcia Kulin is going to be the injury replacement. Looks like Frederik Wagner has come on for Jinx.
Kulin coming on for Grut will hopefully bring a bit of a steadying presence.
Just got this near side and pinged, and Kulin just about keeps it up. Or did she? Because they were asking the question about it.
I feel like it was up. I feel like it bounced out of her chest up into the air. She was lying on the ground underneath it and caught it.
I think that's what she's saying. That, no, I was able to trap it and make sure it didn't get any artificial grass.
It's just, do you consider it in control when she's pressing it against her chin right there?
Yeah, maybe she does have a little bit of the disc as well in between thumb and forefinger.
I'd be happy to let that one go.
It doesn't matter how you get it as long as you get it. It's no style points in Ultimate. At least not yet.
There are in our hearts, Benji.
Raider. Puts it deep. 10 Carter thought she might have had that one.
Incredible read. She watched that glide across the middle of the pitch, picked her line, just charged and jumped as soon as she could. Looked like a strip to me.
But
uncontested.
No call. Retracted. Turnover's going to stand. 10 Carter taps the ground signal, we're ready to go again. And Müller immediately shoots deep. Finds and connects with Wegener. To the end zone. That was, yeah, I think a little over-eager and over-ambitious trying to find Marta Ortiz.
What's crazy is in that situation where there's somebody in that much space, a scuba would be perfect. You could just lift it up. Or a thumber, always the right call. In fairness, that's not a fair thing to say. It's always the right call to throw a thumber.
True. Maybe not in these wins.
Always on, Benji, always on.
No one defends against it. They just never expect it. Kulin struggling to find an option, goes late through the inside channel, and Haaland was all over it.
I'd like to give style points for that interception.
Yeah, Haaland downfield to Herkens, and Herkens goes slightly off the line to Müller. Müller now to Gavish. Jinx have struggled to punch in their red zone opportunities. Now that one's a little bit low, but Ortiz does provide the finishing touch once more, and it's now tied at 3s with 6.5 minutes left.
It's so difficult to... That was just a basic end zone recycle drill, and they are so difficult to pull off in these conditions because the defense is getting that help in that 8th player, which is the wind, and they can contract a little bit more on you. But it's still the same principle. Find those small gaps and attack them as hard as you can. You can see the disc coming so low out of that wind. So the opportunity to float it to the far sideline just isn't really there. You can maybe drop it in there. So we saw Fleur Clertz use hammer to great effect earlier on. But it doesn't really seem like Jinx are adapting their playing style or their throwing style to these conditions as effectively as Grut are.
It's been a knock on Jinx in the past as well. I'm thinking about last year's Elite Invite final against Yaka, another windy day, and Yaka really stifled them with zone, is that when conditions are in their favour, Jinx are nigh on unstoppable. But there might be a little bit of a feeling that you can grind it out in slightly uglier atmospheric conditions.
To me, that's always been a reflection of athleticism over disc skills. There's a wealth of disc skills on this Jinx team. So it is a curious conundrum.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of extra coaching oversight could maybe help you to make those adjustments, pinpoint precisely what's going wrong, and say, okay, not just we know what's going wrong, but we know how it's going wrong and why it's going wrong, and that gives you better understanding and a better chance of fixing it. Nice crossfield pass there from Janne Jansen. And putting air underneath that one to the end zone. Have your pick of receivers. Floculaerts in the end comes through. Grut offense just seems so much more comfortable than Jinx's does.
Very much so, very much so. That throw from Janne Jansen to unlock the whole offensive run down the pitch, where she got it across the middle from in front of their own end zone. Exceptional, probably the best throw of the game for my money. And then I think it was a choice between Kulin, Dam, or it's Menard. Menard, Dam, or Clertz. And I love how Dam and Menard come together. So you see, Clertz gets it, Dam and Menard. Yeah,
we did that.
We did that. We were here too.
I would have caught it if she wasn't there, and she probably would, to be fair.
And again, just like we were saying earlier on with the De Groen throw, really well measured for the conditions they're playing in. That backhand led to the back corner and was actually receivable. So I would like to see Jinx go for the deep shot almost as soon as they possibly can. First throw, if not less, and focus on getting back onto the upwind, because you're only winning this game on the upwind. Although with time going down,
are you winning this game at all? And do you need to win this game? Especially because it's Swiss draw, right? So you can have ties as well. Maybe you say, we tie 4s, that'll do us. I mean, that's not a winning mentality, in my opinion, but there you go. There's the deep shot you called for, but slightly undercooked. Kulin collects on the interception and then finds Leshnik with the first pass. You feel like the windy conditions might suit Leshnik's signature small ball style, but that swing pops up and pops so far out of range that the camera can't even track it.
You can never expose the underside of the disc to the wind, and that inside-out flick right now is just showing the belly to the beast. You're getting carried out like that.
Gavic will bring it in on the sideline. Mark set from Janne Jansen. Gavic into space. Kulin Didn't get the block cleanly, and Marta Ortiz very nearly came down with a catch she probably had no right to. Oleshnik getting aggressive there. Love that from Aurora Oleshnik. Taking on the inside break that has dissuaded so many. Steps into a deeper option, and it comes up a little bit short. It just hasn't.
It hasn't worked
in
once
that
so
direction
far in this game across about 6 different elite level throwers, but they're going back to that well.
Now Jinx with the deep shot again, playing field position. And Gavich wasn't quite in position for a backup. I think maybe hoping for a bit more of a tip, but in the end no one got it. And so he wasn't quite close enough to make it. But on the end zone line, a foot block. Gavich in and through. Hall holds hands.
I wanted that so badly for Hall.
I could tell you did.
Foot block into the 7 cut. Those are 2 of my favourite things in this sport.
Driven down the centre of the field. Easily picked off by Jinx. Lewandowska with a big smile on her face as she intercepts. Now Marlene Müller. With the pole, Lewandowska. Gavich. Down the line to Müller. Müller using the lefty. It's that change of angle and just whips it into the stack and says, one of you's going to get this, I believe, I trust you, you've got the eyes, you can see it coming, the defenders can't, and Jinx ties at 4s. So this has become a universe point really, because we know the gap will come on in this point, so 4 all game to 5. The way Grut have been going downwind, 100% you put them favourites here, right?
You have to. They've looked so much more prepared for it. They've had a couple of flawless holds as well in that time. So they're just delivering at such a high level. As we have another look here, incredible foot block from Warhold.
It's Euro season, so, you know, get a little bit of inspiration.
Just sometimes those discs, they drop so quickly in these conditions, and you think, I can watch this the whole way, and then it's 3 inches below where it was half a second ago. And here, this shot, I think she was trying to get it to the far sideline where there was a cutter, throw it over the stack, but look, you hit a white jersey, you're happy about it.
Especially if that white jersey's in the end zone. So Volchak will pull on this universe point. See bright blue skies overhead. Clouds beginning to thin out. It's very windy, so they are blowing through at quite a pace.
Love that pull.
Volchak going with the roller, but that's the risk. If you don't stop it early enough, the wind pushes it right back towards you.
Ever seen a disc turn that quickly?
Yes, but very rarely. Janssen just about gets the reset away, and now towards the far side where Menard swings once more back into the centre. Lola Dam tosses that backhand up. Boss wants to take on the option down the line. Now stall count rising. Put some air underneath it. Who comes down with it? Tipped by the Jinx defender, Marlene Müller. Has to take an injury sub afterwards, but not going to feel so bad having got the block.
It's a great block. Müller going up against 3 receivers, all of them with very large reputation. She gets the critical touch on the disc. She is also one of the more accomplished throwers on the Jinx side. So losing her as you're about to try and march upwind is going to be tough.
She's been one of the steadiest presences in this game for either side's offense. But here's another Gurner. Slinging down the side. I know it's tipped, but I think Hay recognised that this job's not done yet and gets it at the second attempt out of the sideline. Janne Janssen. As Ted Boyter's dog barks loudly towards our left. The break goes from Janssen. Didn't have enough gas. Ran out just shy.
It's going to happen. These things are getting pushed down to earth by the wind in the sky and the gravity that scientists assure me is a real thing.
Have you ever seen it?
Right?
Exactly. In and out of the hands. Grut picking up on the end zone line. Surely this is their game now.
Ready to finish it off. You can see walking there very confidently. I would have almost reversed that. I would have gone Janssen and then put Menard in the dump position.
So Menard picks up. Coulart's being bracketed at the front by Gerner and Volchak. Still rising. Menard finds the central swing. And now wide open in the end zone. Lewis de Groen punches it to Florahay. And that'll be a 5-4 Grut victory. Close, tight in these short games and in these windy conditions. But Grut just about get the job done. They'll be the top seed after the end of Swiss draw heading into the brackets.
Huge win. Very well done for Grut. Like you said, it doesn't make the biggest amount of difference in a lot of wind, half-time, but showing their strengths and kind of just getting a bit more familiar with each other. Look out for this the rest of the season. It might just be the final of Euros.
Yeah, it could well be the final here at Windmill as well. Going to wrap things up quickly here so we can get straight back into our next game. Women's Swiss draw action round 5, Grut 5, Jinx midnight 4 here on Ulti World.